Welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler. I'm Steve Glenn.
I'm Paul Glenn.
Paul, we get to go through the 2025 travel predictions. And every year in January, I put together a list of the top 60. Today we're going through numbers 31 to 45. And we're going to cover some of the predictions of what we think are going to happen in the year ahead of us. It's always fun time. I put these together. We put them on our weekly travel alert that comes out every Tuesday at 10:30. Paul, we also have a YouTube channel. Where can you find that?
Yep, under Executive Travel. Travel is spelled out, so Executive Travel spelled out. And so if you didn't catch the first 30 of the predictions for this year, you can go watch the prior two podcasts and get up to speed.
Here we go, number 31 on the travel predictions. Hotels will start charging a $15 housekeeping fee. Paul, during COVID, they ran out of customers. They also ran out of staff. So they said, if you want your room cleaned daily, you got to come down and notify us, and we're going to charge you $15, $25, $10. I think they're going to start doing this every night, kind of a hidden fee.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of those things is they're still struggling. You know, they lost their staff and staff hasn't come back in many industries. So, yeah, I think they're in order to make it so that they can probably compensate at the level to get people to come back, because that's how they're going to justify it. They're going to say, for us to be able to clean your room every day, we had to go out and pay more to get
I
the
don't
staff
like
to do
it,
that.
but I'm predicting it. That's number 31. Number 32. Most 2025 river cruises in Europe will be sold out by March 1st. You better book those river cruises now, or you're going to be left out in the cold, because 70%, Paul, when we looked it up, were sold out as of the first of this year.
Yeah, well, what we've seen is the booking window has extended. People are now booking, 18 months in advance compared to what used to be 9 to 12 months in advance. So as soon as the availability for the next season's sailings comes out, people are jumping on that. So yeah, especially the good ones. The availability that might be there right now likely wouldn't be for the exact trip or itinerary that you'd be looking for.
For the dates, yeah, those key hot dates in Europe. So if you're interested in river cruising, of course, the baby boomers love that stuff. They just can't get enough of it, because they jump on board, they unpack once, go down the river, come into a new location, destination every day, do their tours, come back on, have their dinner, float down the river, start it all over again the next day. Hey, number 33 in this week's edition of the Weekly Travel Alert on the 2025 travel predictions. Most people, Paul, will renew their passports online this year. So we've been waiting for this for 5 years, and finally the U.S. government is getting it right, so you can renew online. Now, your mom, Marie, is testing this out this week.
Well, so we'll see if it takes the return time down from 8 to 12 weeks, if it reduces that at all. So we've got a test in the works.
Let's hope. Let's keep our fingers crossed, right? Number 34, facial recognition will replace airline tickets and passports. We're already seeing this.
Already seeing it. I was heading over the pond, I think flying Chicago to Munich last month, and in Chicago, all you had to do was walk up, and they've got a little computer there, takes your picture, and it reads your eyeballs or whatever it's reading, and as soon as you clear, they just let you on. So you didn't even have to have a boarding pass.
Think about it. You don't need a boarding pass. You don't even, in some cases, need a passport.
Didn't need a boarding pass since I had for the minor that was traveling with us.
So there are
there's
some
something
complications.
there are some things that they haven't quite ironed out yet.
Number 35, Paul reads, baby boomers will accelerate their travel as they try to spend down their $78 trillion, that's with a T, dollars in wealth before they kick the bucket. Paul, baby boomers got the bucks, and they're going to spend it.
Spending it on luxury.
So we're going to see that in 2025, and it's only accelerating as we see they basically don't want to worry about taking it with it. They don't want to, actually they're going to end up transferring a lot of that to the X's and the millennials and all those family members below that. But that's going to be a big issue, is that baby boomer wealth, and they try to spend it this year. Number 36 on this week's edition of the Weekly Travel Alert, business class and first class airline seats are set to skyrocket in popularity among Gen X and millennials. Paul, once again, you were telling me about a story traveling back from Italy, and who was in business class?
It was the whole family. It was the teenagers, it was the children, it was, you know, grandma, grandpa, mom and dad, it was everybody. So yeah, it's something where, and they're paying for this. And I think that's the big difference is that these aren't, you know, it used to be if you were at a certain level of status with an airline, then you could potentially get some
free upgrades
and some upgrades for other people that are in the same record with you. And that's not what these are. These are people that are paying full price because the front of the plane is full.
Well, and we've seen the not only that, but we're going to talk about the lounges and everything. It's a different world of travel today, and you're seeing. I was telling on a radio show that used to be 10 years ago, business class was business travelers for large corporations traveling internationally. And then it changed.
Mm-hmm.
And when people started figuring out frequent flyer miles and they were using that, now it's people that have money doing intergenerational trips and they're buying those 10 seats in business class for $7,000 a piece. For that experience. Number 37, travel in 2025 is as much about storytelling as exploration. Paul, I think people want to come back from the trip and be able to tell a story.
Yeah, well, whether it's bragging rights that you just got back from the cruise or the beach and you've got the suntan, sunburn, after having a couple months where you're in weather like what we're having in Nebraska right now, or whether it's that once-in-a-lifetime experience that you take advantage of, that you stumble across. And I think that's really what people are trying to find right now, something that I can only do once in my life. And that somebody else likely will not have ever been able to do.
Right. It's one thing to say I've been in Rome, but you were telling me about a story. You went to Umbria and they invited you into their house.
We went to a friend that I'd met on a prior trip, and he and I were trying to put together a lunch to get the families together on New Year's Eve, and I didn't realize how big New Year's Eve night is in Italy, but so what they did was none of the restaurants. He called 12 restaurants trying to get us seats for lunch, and they were all closed for lunch because they were up all night long. So he invited us to his house, and it was one of those, well, and how often are you going to get invited to come into some house of somebody you've met for an hour of your life? And
so you got a story to tell. Yeah, so cool. Number 38, a pandemic scare is likely to emerge somewhere in the world in 2025, but it may largely go ignored. Now, I hated to write this one down, but the reality is if you look at the data, Paul, every 2 to 3 years, we tend to see a world pandemic somewhere or a scare. So we had Nile virus in 99, we had anthrax in 2001, we had SARS in 2003, mumps in 6, E. coli and salmonella in 06, and H1N1 in 2009, whooping cough in 2012, MERS in 2012, Ebola in 2014, Zika in 2016, and of course, who can forget COVID in 2020. So there's going to be something with people traveling the world.
Now they're talking bird flu.
Oh yeah, now you got
popping
bird flu.
back in. And
so, but I think people are kind of understanding that's just the world.
Yeah.
And they want to avoid risk, of course, but you got to be aware that something's going to pop up. Okay, number 39. Hotels got to decide if they are a hotel or a kennel. Okay, I love dogs. I grew up on the farm, but I don't love dogs doing their thing in a hotel when I'm there checking in.
In the lobby on the beautiful rug.
On the $50,000 rug at the Ritz-Carlton in Amelia Island, right? Okay, you're either a kennel or you're a hotel. So, and this isn't against pets in any way, but there's got to be a line somewhere drawn in the sand.
Well, not just for that and whether you like animals or not, but also allergies and all the other things that need to be taken into consideration. So, yeah, I think kind of going back to there's going to have to be some sort of a disclosure so people know what they're walking into and they can make decisions for their own health and well-being based on what they want their experience to be.
Good point.
Or have a dog wing of the hotel.
There we go. Now we're talking.
There we go.
Okay,
solutions. There we go.
And number 40. Airport lounge boom. We've seen it everywhere. Brand new lounges. I was just one in LaGuardia. It's like 50,000 feet for a Delta lounge. My gosh, and it was full. They're selling all these lounge passes as credit cards. You pay $500 for the credit card a year. You get a free lounge pass. but they're full. It's better to be out in the hall.
Yeah.
And so there's this big boom. And then the business class, everybody wants those $8,000 business class tickets. So they build a business class lounge, and they're full.
And they're full. Yeah.
So there's going to be a big boom all this year. You're going to see all these new lounges pop up. Number 41 reads, Real ID finally becomes a reality in 2025.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I mean,
this
well,
has
they've
been
got May
5
7th.
years in the making. They've had dates though before.
May 7th, 2025. You're going to have a little star on your driver's license that says that your state has authorized security information to be shared. And so that's now going to be required on your ID. I don't know how they'll validate that though, because they're actually going with eyes and stuff.
Yeah, there were certain states that I think didn't have that as part of their IDs, which is why this has been delayed for so long. And so I'm assuming that this means that they've now worked through, and everybody within those states should have a new ID that's got that on it. So
number 42, the big three airlines, American, United, Delta, chase the big bucks with massive international expansion in 2025. Paul, they don't make any money on domestic flights. They make their big bucks selling business class, international tickets. That's why United is expanding to Europe. American, Delta, there's a massive boom of new international routes in 2025. Most of them start up in about May when it gets heavy. You're going to see that all in 2025. Number 43 in this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler, the top 2025 travel predictions. Vacation villas take center stage in Europe in 2025. Paul, along with this intergenerational travel, this baby boomers inviting their whole family to travel, they're going for villas.
Yeah, well,
they're not going for hotels.
Comfort. You get a lot more space if you want. I mean, obviously you can find all types of different villas, but for what we do, having a lot more space, having a living room type area, so you can go find your bedroom and get away, or you can come together. You get a lot of amenities. Having a private pool, hot tubs, things like that. That the hot tub, you don't know how many people you've shared that with since the last time it was cleaned out, versus having a private hot tub that they're cleaning out every stay. So
I'll mention villadestinoitaly.com is our villa in Montone, Italy, in Umbria, and what a great place to be your hub.
Central
basically
hub,
you've got a hub where you unpack once and then visit all the small towns. Everything you can visit Florence or Siena,
Florence and
Gubbio, Assisi, all those fun little towns in Italy. And I think people, they're going to go to Italy and see Rome and Florence, but then they want to get out and see the real Italy. That's what you're going to do. Number 44 in this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler reads, car rental taxes can add up to 60% of the cost of renting a car. Paul, airports are charging these massive fees on car rentals. Cities are charging all these taxes. It's getting out of hand. And so you've got all these costs on top of renting a car.
and your parking tickets or whatever it is that we get. So.
Yeah, in Italy. It's my speeding tickets, my traveling down the wrong road.
Those add up more than the taxes.
Yeah, I almost have to factor in more for travel citations. Hey, number 45, the last one on this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler, reads, 2025 will be the year that more people will earn free flights and elite airline status using credit cards than by flying. Paul, it used to be you got status by how many miles you flew. Now it's how many dollars you spend and which credit cards. Like, I've got a credit card now that pays me 11 points for every dollar I spend.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's pretty amazing, isn't it? So you're getting more people that actually, here's what people won't believe. You won't believe these, ladies and gentlemen. The airlines make more money with credit cards than they do flying you in their airplanes. Is that hard to believe?
No.
All right. This has been the Weekly Traveler. I'm Steve Glenn, along with Paul Glenn. Thanks for joining us today.
Please like, subscribe, share, and add any comments or feedbacks on topics that would be of interest for future episodes. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.